Now, one topic that you and I have discussed is your connections, your experience in the business that you've engaged in international trade. You have business interests in the Middle East. Of course, you have exceptional contacts in Nigeria and elsewhere in Africa and in other parts of the world. When you talk about a position like mayor of City of Dallas, when you talk about the relationships that you have personally and you marry those two, the opportunities for facilitating business on the international stage for the City of Dallas and for this region, for this state, are very impressive. Would you mind discussing a little bit your background in business and then also walk forward from there into some of the initiatives that you would like to see in Dallas engage in for the betterment of its future?
Well, thank you for that question. If you, I don't know whether you are aware, but back in 1996, that was almost about 10 years of coming to America. I was on a trade mission with now U.S. Trade Representative Ambassador Ron Kirk, who used to be the mayor of Dallas.
I was just saying, now there's a familiar name in Dallas.
Yes, and when he became mayor, and the first trade mission he went to was to Southern Africa, which was South Africa and Zimbabwe, and I was the only foreign-born person he invited to accompany him. I felt that was an honor, and up until today, I respect him and I admire him for that role. But he chose me not because I'm a pretty face or because he chose me because he knows that I understand the culture. He knows that I'm comfortable in any diplomatic business setting. He knows the fact that my dad was a chief, so I know the culture, how to relate to people in certain positions. And we went, and it was a very good trade experience. We went, and I've been to other countries with him on a trade mission. I've accompanied him to Washington, D.C., and we went to Costa Rica. At the time, he sent me. We went to invite the ambassadors of Russia and some other, when he used to have the Dallas Ambassadors Forum. If you look at it, the years that event was going on in Dallas, I was involved in it. And then, of course, I served as a secretary of the Dallas Black Chamber of Commerce, which is the oldest African-American chamber in the U.S. In 1997, I was elected the secretary to the board, the first time a foreign-born was elected. And I've served it to the level of one of the vice chairs of the board and chair of the International Trade Committee. So I have relationships. There is no country in the world that I don't have an active relationship, apart from the schools that I went to, but the fact that I travel. There's no year I'm not in some country. I'm a representative of one of the Middle Eastern countries as an investment export promotion manager for them. I'm on my way to that country in a matter of days because I'm facilitating a major transaction between that country and the U.S., in fact, Dallas-based company, that if that transaction were to happen, it will be something that is worthy of a front page news, in any media. And why? Because of relationship. Because when I presented this opportunity to the company, they bought into it, and then I presented it to the other side, they bought into it. Now it's a matter of bringing the two parties to come in and say. So international trade is important to us. Our zip code, the world is bigger than our zip code. And if you look at the world being bigger than our zip code, and the fact that we have been a country that for the past 100 years, 50 effectively, looking at the end of the Second World War, America has grown tremendously. We have become a brand, not just a country. America is a brand, and everybody can relate to America. But who are the disciples? Who are the apostles? Who are your foot soldiers that can go and knock on doors and say, we have the skill set, you have the product, how do we bring that? And that's what it is sometimes. When you cross the borders, it's relationship. Your technical skill, you can get you so far. The world runs on relationship. And I have that. Probably don't have it better than anybody, but I have relationship in Austin to the office of the governor. So if there's anything the city will need, I have a relationship with that office. If there's anything that we need to facilitate trade, to get more interest to Dallas companies, I already have a relationship with the U.S. Trade Office.
Now, you mentioned Governor Perry's office. If I may interrupt for just a moment, you hosted Governor Perry here in your home for an event one time, correct?
Yes, I did.
So when you say that you enjoy connections to the office of the governor, relationship with the office of the governor, you probably have people on your cell phone, if you needed to, that you could call and relay a message to either staff or the governor or whomever. But you're not kidding when you say you have a relationship to the governor of the state of Texas.
Well, I was privileged to host him in my house, and I'm privileged to know him, apart from whatever political side he is on. For me, friendship comes before the politics. Because even as Americans, no matter the political side we are on, we want our lives to be on. We want our water to run. We want our schools to be good. We want to do the best we can. Of course, we have to have the two sides of a coin in order to possess it. So if you have the tail, do you have the coin? Or if you have the head? So whether it's a Republican situation or Democratic situation or an independent, we are Americans first. And that's what I bring to the table. I am not dissuaded because of your political sympathies or your affiliate. If my wife chooses to be of an opposing political party, that's fine. We're still husband and wife. If my son, my daughter, or any family member of mine, or my friends are, I encourage them, take a different role, but let us recognize at the end of the day, we have to justify what position we have. And politics is about yielding. No one side has all the solutions. No one side. So you yield. It's something you have that is doing good, that's going to make a difference for us, we go forward.
Well, and of course, the city is a legal entity under state law, which of course would mean Austin, the legislature, the governor, and such.
Yes.
So that's an important point, I think, for people who want to know, why should I vote for Mr. Okpa for mayor? That's an important point, to realize that here's an individual who has a direct relationship with the office of the governor. And when we consider that there was a gentleman who was just running for governor who was previously mayor of the city of Houston, right, major city in the state, that might not have been the same case. And so I'm not making a political statement there in terms of, like you said, Republican or Democrat, but it's helpful to know that if you are the man, to paraphrase Hillary Clinton, if you are the person who gets the phone call in the middle of the night, if something comes up that needs to be dealt with Austin, you've got the connections there. You've got the relationships.
I got connections there. I got connections with the White House. And I get, again, the connections are, too numerous to be named. But, there's a difference. If I know you, David, and you become the President of America, when I call you, oh, Edward, what's going on? Man, it's been a long time. It creates a certain soothing reception. So whatever it is that I'm asking or you're asking me, we can both say, oh, sure, call this person. Do this, do that. It helps. These are not mutually exclusive. They are all inclusive. And as your leader and a servant leader, you need those relationships. You need to have made contacts. Of course, you're not going to know everybody. But, Texas economy is one of the best in the country. A lot of states in the nation would like to be like Texas. So to know the man who has been at the helm of that affair, to know him to the extent of a personal phone call, even though we're now in a different political situation, since the governor or, if I get elected as mayor, it's very complimentary. Because, this is not a party, there's no, party Democrat or Republican or Independent, in this election. But the relationship still goes on. So this is important. You have domestic relationship. You have good understanding with the state governor that you are part of. Dallas is part of Texas. And so there are certain things, benefits we're going to get because of that. There's certain reception. There's a certain red carpet treatment that will come. But it doesn't mean you're not going to have differences. You do have differences. But if I needed to lead a trade mission to a certain part of the world that I know if the governor were to accompany me, it would create a bigger impact, I will be calling on the governor to come. Because, in some of this trade, the higher the political position of the individual leading it, the more access you are able to create. So in some of these trade missions, depending on the governor's availability, I will say, hey, some Dallas business people would like to go on a certain region of the world. Would you accompany us? If we have to reach out to the trade office in U.S., because again, we can do all of that. The U.S. trade office still has to do what? Approve the agreement in most cases.
When you talk about the U.S. Trade Office, you were talking about the gentleman who occupies that office, that position.
Ambassador
earlier,
Kirk,
correct?
yes.
Ambassador Kirk, former mayor of Dallas. So,
yes.
Again, that's obviously of benefit to you as a candidate, and that's something that you offer to the people of Dallas.
Yes.
If you're the mayor, to be able to call on those types of relationships.